The morning air over Linköping carries a chill, but on the tarmac, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation. A Ukrainian Air Force plane taxis slowly across the runway, its blue and yellow insignia glinting in the Nordic sun. Moments later, the door opens, and President Volodymyr Zelensky steps out, greeted by a brisk wind and a full honor guard from the Swedish armed forces. Standing at the edge of the red carpet is Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, his posture formal, his expression firm yet welcoming. The two leaders exchange a handshake, brief but deliberate, a gesture that speaks of shared resolve and mutual understanding forged in the crucible of war. This is not Zelensky's first European tour, but it comes at a critical time. Russia's latest wave of missile strikes has left cities like Kharkiv and Dnipro reeling. Civilian infrastructure has been hit hard, and Ukraine's demand for sustained Western support is growing louder by the day. Sweden, which only recently joined NATO, is stepping forward to play a larger role in Europe's collective defence, and today's meeting in Linköping signals that intent. As the Swedish military band strikes up the national anthems, the ceremony unfolds with quiet precision. Soldiers in dark uniforms present arms while the flags of both nations flutter side by side. The solemnity of the moment contrasts sharply with the urgency of the discussions that will follow behind closed doors. After the formal greetings, Zelensky and Kristersson walk together along the red carpet, exchanging words inaudible to the cameras but visible in their body language. Serious, engaged, direct. For Sweden, this visit is more than symbolic. The government is preparing to announce a new defence cooperation agreement with Ukraine, one that will expand joint weapons production, air defence integration, and long-term training programmes for Ukrainian forces. In recent months, Stockholm has already approved multiple military aid packages, including CV-90 infantry fighting vehicles and Archer artillery systems, equipment that has proven decisive on the battlefield. But this new agreement, expected to be finalised later in the day, will mark the beginning of what officials call a strategic partnership for deterrence. A senior Swedish defence official tells reporters that the deal aims to make Ukraine less dependent on sporadic shipments and more capable of sustaining its defence industry during wartime. It includes provisions for joint research on drone technology, advanced radar systems, and possibly a framework for co-producing armoured vehicles on Ukrainian soil once the war conditions allow. For Zelensky, the symbolism of signing such a deal in Sweden, a country known for its neutrality until just 2 years ago, carries powerful weight. This is about Europe standing firm, he told journalists before departing Kyiv. Every partnership that strengthens our defence is a step toward peace, built on strength. After the anthems fade, the two leaders turn toward the waiting motorcade. Zelensky waves briefly to the small group of Ukrainian expatriates who have gathered near the security cordon, holding flags and handmade banners reading, "Thank you, Sweden." Among them are families who fled the first days of Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, now living in Sweden under temporary protection. The motorcade departs for the Saab Aerospace headquarters, located not far from the airfield. There, defence executives are expected to join discussions about expanding Ukraine's access to Gripen fighter jet technology, an issue that has been under review for months. Sweden has so far held back on a full transfer, citing NATO coordination, but the political mood is shifting rapidly. Inside the conference rooms, Zelensky will likely push for training programs for Ukrainian pilots and potential licensing agreements for maintenance and assembly, key steps toward making Ukraine's air force compatible with NATO systems. For Kristersson's government, this is also a test of its new role within the alliance, balancing national capability with alliance-wide solidarity. Meanwhile, across Europe, momentum for long-term security commitments to Ukraine is building again. From Berlin to Paris, governments are debating the contours of what officials now refer to as a European security compact for Ukraine. Sweden's contribution, officials say, will focus heavily on technology transfer, innovation, and sustained training missions, a natural fit for its highly developed defence sector. But beneath the formalities, the stakes remain deeply personal. Every visit Zelensky makes to a European capital carries a dual message: gratitude for past support and an urgent plea for more. Ukraine's ammunition stockpiles are running low, Russian forces are pressing on multiple fronts, and winter is approaching, a season that has always favoured Moscow's logistics and resilience. By early afternoon, the two leaders are expected to hold a joint press conference, According to officials briefed on the agenda, the statement will include a reaffirmation of Sweden's unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, as well as a roadmap for expanding bilateral defence production. Kristersson is also expected to announce additional humanitarian aid aimed at restoring Ukraine's damaged energy grid before the onset of winter. At the heart of this new partnership lies a shared understanding that Europe's security no longer ends at its own borders. For Sweden, once the symbol of quiet neutrality, standing with Ukraine has become a matter of moral and strategic necessity. And for Zelensky, every handshake, every photo, every line in a joint statement is another brick in the wall of international solidarity that keeps his nation standing. Later in the day, Zelensky will meet Swedish defence industry leaders and visit a Gripen training simulator, a symbolic moment that underscores Kyiv's long-term ambitions to modernise its air capabilities. It is a reminder that even as Ukraine fights a war of survival, it is already planning for the military of the future, one capable of defending its skies without constant external dependence. As cameras capture the two leaders walking past the Swedish military band, the visual is unmistakable. Two nations, one scarred by war, the other awakening to the realities of modern conflict, bound by a shared determination that Europe must never again be caught unprepared. From Linköping's quiet airfield to Kyiv's battered streets, today's ceremony marks another chapter in Ukraine's unrelenting quest for security and self-reliance. And for Sweden, it signals a definitive step into the centre of Europe's defence architecture, not as a bystander, but as a partner shaping the continent's response to one of the gravest crises of the century. The motorcade disappears into the tree-lined roads of Östergötland, but the echoes of the military band linger. For Zelensky, it's another stop in a journey that has taken him from the ruins of frontline towns to the halls of European power. Each visit, each agreement, each embrace of solidarity pushes back, however slightly, against the darkness of war. In Linköping today, that resistance took the form of ceremony and diplomacy. But behind the brass music and the handshakes, the message was unmistakable. Europe stands with Ukraine, and Sweden intends to make that stand permanent.